listening to the Shite Talk podcast show. Shut up and sit down.
Welcome once again to the Shite Talk podcast show. Mark and Ken.
What's up?
On episode 236 of the Shite Talk podcast show.
That seemed like a struggle.
Yeah, as confidently as ever. I was like, as I was saying it, I was going, is it 26 or 36? Is it either one or the two? And even though just before we do any show, I ask you, what's the episode? You say, I don't know. I go look for it. To clarify that this is the episode we're doing. This is the next episode of our podcast, and I still manage to mess up sometimes.
It's okay though. We pull it off.
We pull it off, and it's a recorded show. So technically, I could just delete all this and make it sound like that I had just nailed it.
Is that not what you do anyway?
No, generally, well, sometimes. But generally, it's like it adds to the quirk of the show. There's a kind of a rough charm of appeal to our show that our listeners really enjoy.
Keeps them coming back for more.
All the several Russian bots that listen.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if they're now listening after.
Yeah, they're a bit busy now at the minute.
Or annoyed.
Yeah. They might be listening more intently now, seeing as you were slagging them there a few weeks ago.
Yeah, Steve, I changed my tune. I did apologise. And then immediately went back slagging them. And then previous to that, we called them, they are the most frequent guests on our Idiots of the Week.
Yeah.
Last week we were talking about flights on the podcast.
We were.
I don't really know how. It was probably me going on holidays that got us on the flights. I don't think it was planned that we talked about flights. We ended up talking about flights, and we got into the whole thing of who's in charge of the flight or the law of the flight, or if you break a law on a flight, where is that going? We don't have the real answer to that, but we do have more stories of people breaking the law on flights. We have couples getting lost in flights, and we have just planes falling apart. This is quite the air crash investigation style show today, Ken.
Yeah, I hope nobody's flying anywhere.
Well,
soon.
Hopefully they are flying somewhere. This is a great podcast to listen if you're currently on a flight.
Yeah, here's all the shit that could go wrong.
Well, this is literally anything and everything that could possibly happen to you during the flight, other than sudden death,
and maybe including sudden death.
And maybe including sudden death, actually, yeah. But I think we have 4 stories for our listeners today. 3 of them are plane-related stories.
It's coming up to summer and holidays, and
I think this week's episode will have to be like shite airlines or something about shite and flying or an airplane.
Shit flies.
Shit flies. Shitting while flying. Shite talk flights. Shite flights. Something like that.
Shit hit the fan.
Careless Airways. Do you ever hear the story? Remember Little Britain?
Yeah.
There was a spin-off of that of Careless Airways or something like that, where they filmed it in I think it was Heathrow Airport or one of the airports. They had a makeshift Careless Airways thing where they would shoot the film or the series, and people would come up and try book flights with them. They're like, first of all, our name's called Careless Airways. Second of all, we're not a real airline, and why would you want to fly with us? And people would get genuinely annoyed when they couldn't book a flight with Careless Airs. Why are you here?
Yeah, sure. Why is Ryanair there?
Yeah, in fairness, we've one Idiots week, and it is in fact Ryanair. Tim Dillon is a US comedian, my favorite US comedian, I'll just add. But he was currently flying to, I think he was first in Scotland, then he's come over to Ireland, and I think he was giving out about Aer Lingus, and then it was complimenting Ryanair. I was like, what world is Ryanair? But I think his one compliment for Ryanair was that they were selling liquor and cigarettes on flights, and he's like, my people.
Yeah, what fucking planet is he living on that Ryanair is better than Aer Lingus.
Yeah, I don't know what they did to piss him off, but he wasn't happy with Aer Lingus. And then he was well impressed that the Ryanair flight was selling cigarettes and alcohol on flights.
He was impressed by that, but he was not impressed by the fact that everybody shoved in like a cattle shed.
Yeah, exactly. He had literally his knees are in his face.
Yeah, like I don't understand it.
You don't even get a tray. You just rest your hot liquids on your knees. I actually personally have no problem with other than their bag size. That's my biggest issue with them, the carry-on bag thing.
I've never really had a problem with Ryanair. It's just the people that fly on Ryanair.
Yeah. Well, what you do is just book the more expensive seats, Ken, and you don't have to fucking deal with the plebs. That is the trick to that, Ken. Actually, no, because I was on a flight and when it was Ryanair, and where I say it's near the emergency exit doors because you get a little bit more leg room.
Yeah.
There might be a nice flight attendant every now and again that sits down there and you're like, look at the window and say, Jesus, she has a good job. She ignores you.
Actually, I did have one problem with Ryanair. They won't let me fly on the driver's license.
Oh, yeah. Well, I don't think you can fly anywhere with a driver's license anymore.
You can. You can fly to the UK on a driver's license.
All right. You can get
can
EU travel cards.
You can do that with every airline except Ryanair.
Yeah, but you just get a EU travel card.
Yeah, that's no good to me, Mark, when I forgot my passport.
What?
That was no good to me when I forgot my fucking passport.
Yeah, but if you keep it in your wallet, and it's kind of like the fucking rotten condom you had there since you're 18, it's always there in case you need it.
And so I had to go. We went to Ryanair. They were like, "No, fuck off." Went down to Aer Lingus, and they were like, "Yeah, we'll put you on the next flight. See you later."
See you later. That'd be €200. It was €80 for Ryanair.
It's actually the same price.
Yeah, they actually are close enough now, in fairness to them.
Like, yeah, see you later.
Good luck to you.
I was like, what a fucking... Well, do you know what your one in Ryanair actually said to me?
What?
She's like, are you a UK citizen? And I was like, no. And she's like, oh, well, we let UK citizens fly on driver's license.
To the UK, back to the UK, I imagine, though.
Oh, she didn't specify. She just said, we let UK citizens fly on driver's license.
I imagine that's what you meant.
And I was like, well, that's a bit fucking cunty, innit? It's a common travel area. You don't need a passport to fly in.
Well, one of the things, actually, I missed my flight, and the Ryanair staff actually bent over backwards to get us onto a flight and make sure that we made the flight. We did have to.
She told me you can go home and get your passport, and I'll put you. It'll cost you €100 to go onto the standby list, and then €100 if you actually get a plane. I was like, so you're going to charge me £200, or I could just go downstairs to the Aer Lingus desk and fly in half an hour.
Yeah, no, by the sounds of it, we had two very different experiences.
That was my only ever problem with Ryanair.
That's one that I have never held against them. I've just let it go.
Yeah, bastards.
The absolute cunts. Well, this British couple probably will feel your fury as well, because they went on a day trip to France. I think it's Fulham is where they're from. They were going over there because of the local football team were playing in Nice. And they were doing a day and night in France. So they're probably going over, watching a match, going out for food, and then maybe in the afternoon getting a flight back to back home. Like I said, I think it's Fulham. I did some great research here. It's gonna be here anyway. What was really strange about this story was their names, because I was like, they both have girl sounding names,
right?
Yeah, and in the picture of the article it was a boy and a girl. So I was like, which one is the girl? Because when you're talking about it, you're gonna eventually call them him or her. Although I think Ellis Mila is the girl. She's 33, and Jesse Kuhl is 41, and he's the man. Okay. And yeah, they were over watching their local football team take on Nice, or football club in Nice. And we're on our way back to the airport after a lovely time, I'm sure, in France. And got onto the plane, had our tickets scanned, and we're in the air going, oh, that was a good trip. And then they hear that the flight wasn't actually, in fact, landing in Heathrow, but it was going to Madrid. Now, Jesse, when he heard that, thought he actually either misheard them or it wasn't. He was dreaming. He had fallen asleep and he just dreamt that he was on his way to Madrid.
As you do.
So it wasn't until he actually then heard the air hostesses speaking Spanish that he realized, oh fuck, I am actually on a flight to Spain. And so, like, it wasn't until the plane touched down that he had alerted, or that they alert the air hostesses to what had happened. Now, taking into account, like, they had had their boarding passes scanned 3 times before getting onto this flight. So how they managed to go from the gate onto the plane without anybody realizing that, in fact, they're on the wrong flight, that this flight is actually heading to... As well as that, before the flight takes off, I know it would be a bit late by then, like, the pilot comes on and says, blah, 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 we're on our flight to fucking Spain. And then they're like... So they obviously weren't paying attention the whole entire flight, and were like, send us home.
Yeah, and also the pilot comes on and gives like updates, weather updates and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. The weather in Spain is 23 degrees. It's a light
breeze. It's currently 5 a.m. in Spain.
Yeah, exactly. And usually they speak Spanish at the start of the flight as well.
Where did you say this guy is from? England?
Yeah, there are a couple from England. They're flying from Nice in France to Spain, Madrid in Spain. And so, like, I would imagine maybe... I'm surprised...
Maybe the flight time as well maybe might have given it away when the pilot was like, your flight tonight is going to take an hour. Like,
yeah, so...
That doesn't sound like England.
The girl was Ellie. Well, actually, England. I imagine Nice to like England, Heathrow would be fairly quick, wouldn't it? They're fairly close together. I would imagine Spain is actually probably maybe a little bit further away than. I'm really bad at geography, so maybe not. I know Spain and France are connected, so.
Where were they flying from?
They're flying from Nice, and they're going to, I imagine, Heathrow, and then they ended up in Madrid, in Spain.
They're going from Nice to Heathrow, right? Hang on, I look up directions. You keep talking.
Okay, this could take a bit. One of the kind of straight, like Ellie or Ellis, the girl in this situation, she said she could have sworn she's seen on the neighbouring gate it said Madrid, and she thought she made a reference to her boyfriend saying that, like, oh, wouldn't it be nice to continue this holiday and end up in Madrid before getting on the flight, not realizing that, in fact, that's what they were just about to do. But instead of spending, like, maybe a nice night in fucking Madrid and then going home the next day, I think it was like a 5-hour detour in terms of...
There's like a half hour in the flight difference.
Yeah, so it'd be fairly similar in terms of, like, you might not have noticed if the pilot said it's going to take an hour and a half to an hour. Either way, which one is closer, actually? Just for
Heathrow.
Heathrow. So I was right. That B3 in geography really paying off. Failed for 2 years straight in geography. Got B3 because my geography teacher couldn't do maths. But I'm not holding it against her.
You're still holding on to it, Mark.
I hold on to a lot of shit, Ken.
Still your proudest achievement
to this date. But like, so basically, by the sounds of it, Ryanair crew were quite good for them. They immediately, once they landed, found them a fairly quick flight home. Like they said, there's about a 5-hour delay. So they're probably waiting around the airport for maybe 2 hours. And like from Spain it's only 2.5 hours flight back here. So I imagine it's similar enough back to Heathrow. So like they got turned around pretty quickly. By the sounds of it, they're kind of annoyed about how a fuck up like this happens, the amount of checks to avoid situations like this, and still imagines that's who. I kind of, when she first said she thought she seen that the neighbouring gate was actually going to Madrid and that one was going to England, but they could have mixed up the flights completely. So you would have had a plane load of people who thought they were going to Madrid actually end up in England going, what the fuck is this?
That would be brilliant.
When I was on my way back from Bali, I think that nearly happened. We were nearly about to where our gate was. They fucked up the gates. And I think if several people got onto that flight, but we were just about to go walk onto the plane ourselves. And the girl that I was with at the time, she was like, no, that's not the right plane. I was like, come on, let's just get on the plane.
Shut up and get on the fucking plane.
And it turns out we had to go down a set of stairs and we had to get on a different one, but like there was huge confusion over it. But I think after that they managed to get people off the plane who were meant to be and get them on. Then I nearly lost my plane ticket, which is a whole other story. Ended up being like fucking, it was really sweaty, and like my friend was minding all my stuff for an entire trip and had given me my passport back to me and my ticket. And in the space of 5 minutes, maybe 10 minutes, I had lost it. Recruited 2 Australian couples to help us look for my ticket. Checked everywhere, but apparently it was quite hot and steamy in the airport, and the ticket had got stuck to my armpit. To which my friend Jacqueline swears she pointed out to me that was stuck to my armpit. I thought I found it myself, but yeah.
Oh, Mark, how have you gotten this far?
Relying on others to take care of me, Ken. That's how. Relying heavily on others to make sure that
Sometimes it worries me. I'd be like going around and I'd be like, Mark Carnes is out here driving around somewhere.
Mark is responsible for a vehicle that can hit 140 kilometers and has a attention span of about 3 seconds.
And it's accident prone.
And it's very accident prone. Yeah, very, very accident prone.
What could possibly go wrong?
It seems like a disaster waiting to happen, doesn't it? But like I said, I think other people can pay attention for me. I always say, the reason people have brakes so is they can stop for me. And I kind of follow that logic. And that's how I get out of most things.
Well, that's me not driving around Nace or the surrounding areas ever again.
Oh, you never know, Ken. You might have to come back to a certain club. You're offering free membership for new members.
I wouldn't be a new member, though, would I?
See, that's the thing. They should have just offered for everybody, shouldn't they have? Get the returning members back as well. Their money is just as good as new members. They're more likely to come back then as well.
Yeah. Like, yeah.
Anyway, moving on to a different airline flight. Would you class Ryanair in that situation as the idiots of the week?
No, the passengers there are the idiots.
Well, it's easy to mix up gates. Imagine, especially when you get your boarding pass scanned, they're like, "Yeah, welcome to flight. Sit down there." It's a miracle that someone didn't come along and go, "Here, that's my seats," and they'd be like, "Oh wait, you're on a different plane."
Yeah, that's kind of surprising that didn't happen, especially since it's Ryanair, and that happens sometimes anyway.
Yeah, it happens when you're on the right flight.
Everybody's booked on the right fucking flight, and it's like, oh,
they
looks
double
like
book seats.
Overbooked.
Yeah, it looks like we double. Well, they do that actually, because there's a high percentage of passengers that don't turn up for flights apparently.
Yeah.
Anywho, so anyway, moving on to a different one. We were talking last week about what happens if an incident happens in the airway. We were kind of just, we didn't get to the bottom of it. We didn't do any real research. We were on, oh, this is what we think happens. But now the FAA,
Yeah.
which is the American Flight Authority, I imagine, they have issued their two biggest fines ever to passengers. This is a part of a document that was released, tailing 2 million fines that they've released, $2 million worth of fines that to people since January 2022. So one of the fines was for 81,950. The other fine was for 77,272. So this doesn't get into the bottom of who actually. So like if you're in the air and you're on a different airline in a different country or anything like that, this just goes down some crazy shit that air hostesses have to deal with on a regular basis. And why when I say, Jesus, you have a really interesting job to air hostess, they're like, you don't know the half of it. And ignore me for the rest of the
What are the fines for?
crazy shit. Both of them, interestingly enough, were female. And when we get into it, it's insane. We always say men are the more stranger of the species. This throws that whole statement into question, quite frankly. So, 81,950 fine involves a passenger aboard American Airlines flying from Dallas to Connecticut, and she allegedly threatened an air hostess after she fell into the aisle, and the air hostess offered to help her up. She threatened to attack her, and then the passenger pushed the air hostess and was like tried to like open the cabin door then. So she had to be then restrained, where she was headbutting, spitting and kicking passengers as well as hostesses trying to restrain her.
I know, people are fucking crazy.
Yeah, so they had two flight attendants tried to like first restrain her, but she was repeatedly headbutting them and attacking them. Like exactly, I think people are insane. I kind of like thinking about, because like edibles are legal in America. I was like, is this a kind of just a case where people are nervous about flying? They take an edible to help them relax, and they just go fucking insane on the flight. Like it does, how alcohol gets you more drunk in the air. A smaller bit of alcohol gets you more drunk.
I do think part of the problem with issues on planes is like people to be drinking and stuff because they're nervous.
Yeah, well, I kind of like when I'm on my way to. I like a nice whiskey on a plane. But I'll have that and I'll be fine. And then, well, yeah, but other people, they are nervous and they drink a lot. So I don't know. Is the thing just get rid of alcohol on flights? But then a lot of people are getting drunk getting onto the plane, and then you can buy alcohol in the airport as well.
Yeah, it's a funny story. It's illegal to open your duty-free alcohol on a plane.
Yeah, no, I know. I was sitting beside a guy who drank a full bottle of port during a flight, and like her hostess had warned him not to open that on the flight, and then told him not to drink anymore, and he was absolutely locked getting off the plane. He was fucked. He's like, I think he threw up into a bin, could barely walk.
Yeah, I wonder what the story is then if you open it before you get on the plane.
Yeah, if you start swigging it as you're trying to board, you'd probably be warned not to drink that on the plane. But you can not be allowed to get onto a flight if you're drunk as well.
Mm.
Yeah, but obviously she had mental issues. She was headbutting and kicking fucking crew. She was fucking spitting at them, and eventually the plane lands in Charlotte. Police get on and arrest her, and she's now been hit with an 81,000 fine, 82,000 nearly fine for her troubles.
That's a lot of fucking money.
Yeah, like in fairness, America don't fuck around here. Like 81,000. Like, I do think she definitely deserves to be fined. I do think she definitely deserves to be banned off American airline flights and possibly do time in jail. But yeah, 81,000, it seems like a lot.
It seems a little bit excessive.
Especially since you're flying on a budget airline, so you probably aren't the most well-off person in the world.
That's probably the reason behind it.
Yeah, well, don't they play into account how much money the person has in terms of when they're doling out fines?
I don't know if America do. We don't.
All right. Well, I imagine because if a person is a billionaire and you hit them with like a 70,000 fine, they'll go, "Okay, here you go." Whereas
that's the argument with a certain sports star who keeps getting done for certain driving offences.
All right. Yeah, I get you. And
the point is that, the €400 fine is nothing.
Yeah, but I think you can get banned off the road for life and actually do
or
jail as well eventually.
Hire a fucking driver.
Well, he'll have to do that now, won't he? He'll have to do that now. Anyway, the next kind of incident is 77,272. It seems like a very specific amount, and that's the other thing. Why not just make it 82,000? Why are they trying to they're trying to sell off cheap fucking drink or something like that? Where they have 950, they're kind of like it was only 81,000. This one seems also very specific. I wonder how they come to their fines. It's like 77,272.
I think it's because do they not they were set years ago and then they just changed with inflation?
Oh, okay. So they just add inflation on, whatever the inflation.
I assume that's the way it works.
Yeah. Now, the next one is Delta Airlines flight going from Las Vegas, which always just, I imagine you get the most amount of trouble on planes that are come out of Las Vegas, just because people have been partying for the last however many days they're there, and they're just, they either lost a lot of money, won a lot of money, or had no money anyway, and it's just going home.
Or got married.
Hence, well, that's why I thought I covered that with have no money. So the Delta Airlines flight was going from Las Vegas to Atlanta, and the passenger tried to hug and kiss another passenger seated next to her. She walked to the front of the aircraft, which always means trouble unless you're going to the toilet, and tried to exit the flight and refused to return to her seat. And another passenger bit another passenger multiple times and had to be physically restrained.
Okay, the fine, right, I've got another question now. The fine that these people get, is it just a fine that's going to the FAA, or is part of it going to the people that they abused or bit or whatever?
See, I was actually wondering that, because I was like, that 82,000, hopefully some of it's going to the air hostesses that had to fucking restrain and were physically attacked during this flight, or is it just going to the FAA and then it's up to the person who was attacked to then press charges for assault.
And then the other question then is, where's the air marshal?
Yeah, I thought all inbound flights do have air marshals on. Maybe that's how they were eventually restrained by an air marshal. But by the sounds of it, the one from Texas, it seemed like it had to be air hostesses that had to restrain them, and they had a pretty hard time as well. Several times she tried to break free and stuff like that. So I imagine not all flights might have air marshals. I imagine if they're going from Las Vegas, you kind of should have air marshals.
I thought all domestic US flights have air marshals after 9/11.
Yeah, but even when she was trying to hug, and if that was a lad, you're probably going to get sexual assault charges pressed against you in terms of that. And then she did try to fucking then bite other passengers, or people are just odd. This is the kind of I don't know what builds up to the point where a person is, first of all, in middle place, I am getting out here, and tries to exit the plane. It's I'm done.
This is my stop.
Hey everybody, I'm done. Okay, this person clearly is not into me. I try to hug and kiss him, or her, and then there's keep to ignore me, and I'll be told to stop. So I'm getting off the flight. Just let me out here. Walk the rest of the way. I'm getting off. And she's like pulling, and everyone's like, "You'll kill us all." According to Ken, you can't. You can't actually open that. Yeah, so like, it's crazy. Once again, 70. Like, is that worth, though, Ken? Let's play devil advocate here. Is that worth what she did? 77,272 fine.
Fuck it, yeah.
She, I guess, sexually assaulted someone, or assaulted someone, bit another person, and then, or maybe it was just one person. That person had a hard time. They deserve a bit of money. If that person was being bitten and hugged and kissed
against her will.
What if it wasn't against her will, though?
Yeah, what if they initiated it?
Yeah, well, we needed more details on this, but yeah, they were hit with pretty hefty fines. Apparently, I guess the lesson from these stories are, if you're going to be an asshole on an American flight, prepare to pay a whopping big fine.
Yeah, or just don't be an asshole.
I do think it would be nice if the people who are affected, like passengers, maybe the FAA are keep the money aside and people can claim it. So if something happens on a flight and they find these persons, then you can claim your percentage of this, and they might dole it out to air hostesses because, yeah, by the sounds of it, they have a lot of shit to deal with. Yeah. Next time you're on a flight, don't say to an air hostess, "Jesus, you have an interesting job." I was listening to the Shite Talk podcast show. Yeah, so you have a story about a plane falling apart.
Yeah, I can't remember where it was, though.
All right, when you look for
Costa Rica.
Yeah, all right. When you actually mentioned it, I was like, I actually had an idea for a business plan for airlines that all planes fall apart, and this is how planes land. So, what happened to this plane? And I'll tell you my genius invention.
Yeah, because that's cost effective, Mark.
Well, it is, I think.
The plane just disintegrates.
Not disintegrates. That wouldn't be cost effective. But like, all it is it's like you have this box.
Is this your idea where you basically just parachute people out of the plane rather than stopping?
Yeah, but like, it's been redefined over the years. So one of my friends who I told this to said what you should probably do is land the plane, and then the box gets lowered down, and then connects to another box, and the box goes up, and then the plane can refuel and go off its other way, and then it's cleaned and taken away. And that seems like a lot better idea. Anyway, go on.
Okay.
I'll go into it a little bit later on.
So this plane was flying from... Where the fuck was it flying from? It was going from Costa Rica to Guatemala, and it had to turn around and come back because it suffered... What was the problem with it? It had a problem with something to do with the cargo, and it's a cargo plane. It's a DHL cargo plane. It had a problem with like the cargo hold or something, and it turned around to fly back, and just as it landed, it like fell apart.
So like the size of the plane, I'm just imagining like it going like splitting in two, like the plane.
Yeah, like it's split in two. Like it landed, and the front and the back of it just fell apart.
Oh, they're kind of like wacky racing. Like the car just
yeah. Yeah, like it just, and you can see all the like. It took a little bit of time for like the fire crew and stuff to respond. Like they're sitting there waiting for it because obviously they got the emergency call. But like it lands, it falls apart, and there's like 5 or 6 seconds that they're just sitting there before they decide, hang on, no, wait, we need to go there. It's just like everybody's just like, hang on, this thing's fucking falling apart.
This thing just disintegrated, and yeah, is this our problem today? Do we have to clean this mess up? Like,
who deals with this?
Who deals with this? If it's on fire, sure, we can respond, we guess. But like, it's not on fire; it's just split in two. Surely this is an engineer's job. We're going back to watching football.
Yeah, there's a video of it as well. Like, nobody was hurt or anything. Like, that's why it's funny.
Well, yeah, okay, yeah. What happened? Like I said, what happened to the pilots that they were sitting in this plane? Did like they go like ass over face into the window, or did it split in two where like the cabin of the plane just fell like was in two and it went on the side?
So the way it split was the tail detached from the plane, right? So the tail like fell off,
Yeah.
and the cockpit went up.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, I guess. Yeah, so the pilots are now in their seats, looking up at the sky, and then there's a load of Amazon packages all over the ground.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. And like, is there an investigation? Did they say like what caused the plane to split in two?
Don't know. They're looking into it, and they cancelled every flight from the airport. The airport was closed for like the rest of the day. Like, they just were like, right, fuck this, we need to figure this out. Hang on, everybody go home.
Yeah, imagine like if this is a problem either with the airline or with the what you call it with the plane itself. Like you might have a lot of passenger planes then going out like this, because some of the planes actually double up. When we were just like perfect person to fly with, by the way. When we were just about to board a plane, I started to talk about like aircraft investigation programs that I had watched to my girlfriend as we were getting on this flight. And one of the ones was the one that happened up in Cork where the plane landed upside down because the lads didn't know how to fly in Cork and it was foggy out and they hadn't trained in fog, or I don't know what the thing was. But like, one of the things that they said, like it was a budget airline, so it would double up as a cargo plane at night and then go back as a passenger plane during the day. And the pilots were responsible for putting all the seats back in the plane. So like there wasn't any cabin crew, so there wasn't any air hostesses on the flight. So all the flight kind of like how to use the emergency equipment was done by the pilots on the plane, and they also were responsible for fucking putting all the seats. So they had to like manually bolt all the seats back into the plane before getting onto it. So it was like fatigue, stress about financial penalties if they landed in a different airport, and then the pilots would have been responsible for paying for all the costs to get the people from Clare to Cork at the time. It was really crazy. But yeah, I was telling my girlfriend this as we were getting on the flight, and she was like, "Really, Mark? Really? This is the time?" We were a whole week, and now you start to talk about air crash investigation programs.
Oh yeah, and then there's one time this plane
was on holiday from Eastern Europe.
This plane was flying from Hungary to Ireland, and
this happened. Yeah. So like, it's interesting. Imagine they're in air with passengers and the plane disintegrates, or they're with packages. What happens then? Because if the part of the plane falls off without the wings, I guess if it falls off, any part of it falls off, it kind of needs all of it to say, like, make it a reliable plane. You can't be like, the back of it isn't that important.
Yeah, it's fine.
It's fine. I get it back. Usually a few of those boxes block up that fucking hole there. It's getting a bit drafty.
Somebody's bound to have bought some airplane parts.
Yeah, see if there's any spares. Well, dildos here. So that's our air crash investigation part of it. No one died in any of these stories, but a few people were bitten.
Traumatized for life.
Yeah. So, I don't think I said this on air, but we have a possible legend of the week. He's not been given the like hero build up of the previous legends of the week, and that's because I said to Ken, like, he gets my nod for legends of the week, but I'm gonna wait till Ken hears the story, and Ken can decide if he thinks he also deserves it, and if both of us come to an agreement over whether this man deserves to be a legend of the week, we'll grant him the honourable title of Legend of the Week. So
send him a t-shirt.
This is possibly the time of the show created for legends, by legends, and it's where we talk about people doing awesome things, but maybe it isn't where we talk about people doing awesome things. This hasn't been decided.
Did you just use the idiots of the week intro and just change the legends?
Yeah, that's what I do for Legends Week. It's the idiots week, but yeah. Are you only copying this now? I'm not made of intros, Ken.
Why not, Mark? Why not?
I can't just spew them out. I'm not like a
Some sort of
lyrical
intro
genius.
machine.
Yeah, there's some intro lyrics machine over here. Anyway, Michael from Lancashire was created an advert for his mother's caravan, and he put up on eBay, and the thing went viral. And it's basically, I think it's just his description of the caravan and the stuff he's also adding in to try to sweeten the deal in terms of to get this 80-year-old caravan sold.
Caravan is 80 or his mother's 80?
Well, the caravan's I think his mother's 70, but the caravan's a 1980s caravan. So it'd probably be older than 80. Or would it be? No, it wouldn't. Definitely not.
No, it would be like 40.
40 years old, yeah, sorry. Ken, who's like, born in 1985 or something like that, I don't know. He told me before.
Yeah, I was born in 88.
88, close.
Yeah.
So on the seller, I put on the ad that it will include an awning, which I didn't know what an awning is. I didn't even know how to say it. So what I started to do now is Google how do you pronounce awning, and then I was like, then it showed me, and I was like, I still don't know what it is. So then I go, what is an
English
awning?
sticks out. It's like a little built-in gazebo.
Yeah, it's like a little built-in gazebo. So just in case any other people are like me, what's an awning? But yeah, basically, it may or may not include an awning. And he also said he'll also throw in a Uno card pack, which is about 80% of the cards are still there.
There's a lot of 80s going on in this, isn't there?
Well, 80%, yeah, I guess 1980s, 80% of maybe there's a team here coming, Ken. Maybe he's looking to sell it for 80 quid. Yeah, the listing claims that the sale of it has been driven by the sister, but the mother in her 70s, it would make her very happy to see it sold and given a new home and possibly a new lease of life because it's not really being used by the family anymore. He warns that the potential buyer be not expecting any miracles with this. He's not really trying to like paint this caravan in any great light when he is during this ad. But he did try to sweeten the deal, and he said that he'd be happy to throw in any plates, currently very liquid ECT that is bound to be in the cupboards just in case. And he said that there's no returns on this and you have to pick up yourself, and he gave the address. He said if you get home and you find a dotty 70-year-old woman in the bathroom, locked in the bathroom, please return her because we're quite fond of her. Then he said, what's this? There was an exciting 3 minutes last night when I thought I'd be able to include a hammock, but she's keeping the hammock apparently, and then has recently updated to say that the awning is MIA at the moment, so will not be included in it. But he's trying to sell it and give the money to some heart foundation, so it's going to a good home. But it's the way the description of it, I feel like I fucked up the description of it, because reading through it, it is like it's really sarcastic, and the way he talks about even the Uno cards, he says, I have no friends. I found this pack of Uno cards in my house, and it's not really in the use at the moment because I have no friends and so I have no use for this. So I'm happy to throw this into as to sweeten the deal in order to get it across.
Right. He comes off as desperately wanting to be funny.
Desperate. I think he's drinking a bottle of wine or some form of alcohol, and he's like, this is funny. Da 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 da. You know when you're you're trying to be funny and you're just typing away saying this is hilarious and you're just laughing away. I don't know if it's desperate trying to be funny.
I don't think he meets the threshold to be a legend of the week.
So he falls short of legend of the week.
But he might make idiot of the week.
I'm going to break down our previous legends of the week winners was a guy who caught a ball and didn't spill any beer. Like, this is how low the bar we set some of our legends of the week down as. But man being funny on eBay ads doesn't make it. So unfortunately, I think he has raised like 2,000 quid so far for that Heart Foundation. Man trying to be funny for charity is not a legend of the week.
How you made 2,000 quid?
Because someone has, so it's up for auction. It's on an eBay auction, and people can bid on the
okay.
So he's exactly. He says like his sister's driving the purchase, so his sister probably has a heart condition, or else is some way attached to her. And his mom's like, yeah, let's sell that thing, give it to a good home, and so he also, one of the other things he said, he said something about his mum. Yeah, see, I feel like I haven't sold the reason. Like when I was reading this, I was like, this guy's a legend. I haven't done a great job, to be honest with you, of what you call it, of portraying his humor during this. Because one of the things is like his mother. He says a 7-year-old locked in the bathroom, and then he goes, "We're quite fond of her," and something about her making them do racket sports. And then he included a WhatsApp message in the photos of her talking about how much she really wants him to do like badminton. So unfortunately, Michael from Lancashire, you may sell your mother's 1980s caravan, but you will not be a legend of the week because Ken does not deem you worthy. And I somehow feel partially to blame for that. I thought it was funny. Maybe I'll send Ken a link and he'll change his mind, but it's quite doubtful.
You built him up too much.
Yeah, I think I have. I think I've built him up too much. And I dared to fly too close to the sun to get this guy across the line as a legend of the week. Apparently, you could even go in the opposite way and be an idiot of the week.
Yeah, I think it's just man desperately trying to be funny. I think that's how we should describe it.
But I think like when you have an advert like that, or you're on a dating site, because I always say dating site, you're basically trying to sell yourself. You have to stand yourself out from the crowd. In this thing of like where there's 1,000 other caravans, a lot of them are newer, better looking, cleaner, with better hair. You have to make yourself stand out, or caravan stand out, and that's what he did by throwing in Old Fairy Liquid and plates.
Like even that. How long has the Old Fairy Liquid and the fucking plates been there?
Probably since he was a child, Ken. I would imagine it been there quite a while. And
the plates 40 odd years.
Yeah, I think it's what the caravan's just been sitting up. Hasn't been touched since the last time they used it, and they're kind of like, it's not really going anywhere. Let's just sell it as is, and what's ever in there, it's in there. And here we'll throw in this pack of Uno cards that I found in my gaff.
Or the Uno cards already in there?
I see. When I first read it, I was like, "Oh, the Uno cards probably were in there," and you're like, "Oh, we've seen. Imagine a few of them are probably missing. We won't say full deck of Uno cards because we don't get people's hopes up."
Yeah, or is it a pack of Uno cards that you bought from a charity shop to add in?
Maybe it was. Maybe the charity like threw in like, "Yeah, we'll throw in these Uno cards if you think it'll sell anymore."
Like, I don't know, Uno card is a big thing. Like, is that going to tilt anybody towards, yeah, I want this caravan?
Uno cards, yeah. I know some people are really into. There's like Uno like world championships where like people have Uno battles.
Jesus.
Yeah, I know people who this is all they do is like not all they do, but they just sit around and have drinking like wine and playing Uno and beer, and like if anybody comes over, it's you will play Uno with them in this house. Like it's just a rite of passage that you sit down and play Uno with them. And they have like rules in terms of like what they do, like in pressing buttons. Like you can create your own rules. There's like where you have to do activity and then you get to deal out the punishment as well. So
I've never played Uno.
Yeah, it's. Have you ever played Switch?
No.
All right, it's a bit like Switch. It's basically it's a card game like Switch, which is also a card game. So you could just have a deck of cards and play Switch, and it's very similar.
Very strange.
Yeah. But anyway, good luck to him anyway. But he won't be in it this week, and we've run out of time. We haven't managed to get to the hour, but we got an hour and a half last week. So like, one hand washes the other. You've got a bit more last week, so you get a bit less this week.
Yeah.
We'll be back next week with more shite.
More talk.
We hope. Maybe we won't talk. Maybe we'll both lose our voice and we'll have to do it sign language. Mute. Total pictures. Yeah. I think I convey my messages a bit clearer if I just had to hold up like signs.
I don't know. I think it would be even more chaotic.
Well, if I had to spell the signs, it would be definitely more chaotic.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
God knows what that would be like.
Ancient Egyptians, archaeologists are now investigating what was said or not said on the Shite Talk podcast show. It could take numbers of years as they go through hundreds of texts of research applied papers to find out what these two idiots were actually saying on their podcast.
What language was Mark trying to convey?
It's not recognizable by man.
He must be an alien.
Yeah. Well, it's actually one of the things people are saying is people are stopping being able to write because people's handwriting has got so bad because they're not writing as much anymore, even for stuff like in your job where you would have to write out forms or stuff like this. You type it out on a computer. Everything's gone digital. Like even people writing their names, a lot of people just do it like either on a pen or their finger as touch comes more used. People are actually losing the ability to have really lovely handwriting.
I never had nice handwriting, so it doesn't bother me.
I used to have nice attached handwriting, but it took me too long, so I just fucking said, fuck this, I'm going to do it right. I'm going the way that's quicker.
I always just wrote like a fucking... I know, I was always just fucking mad.
I always said if I had to write it down, it clearly wasn't important enough, because if it was important enough, you come to talk to me, I'll tell you. It wasn't important to you. Yeah. Anyway, we'll be back next week. Bit of a tangent there. Yeah, talk to you then. Oh, no.